Alright, hey everyone, I'm back for part 2 of the LMP body mold design. So, I am now gonna work on finishing the body. The main shape has been done. I'm going to build a bumper for it, so that's what I'm doing now. I'm extruding a rectangle of the front. That's going to be the bumper. You can see I've switched through a few minutes. There is now a plate under the nose as well, and so I'm shaping the bumper, trying to round the edge. I'm going to try to do some of the body work on the front end will be shaped instead of being sticker work like I'm planning to do on the rear end. So now I have the front bumper slash diffuser that is starting to take place, so that is going to strengthen quite a bit the front end as well, because you see it is kind of separated in 3 pieces between the wheel wells, the nose. So this is going to help. Don't have a lot of space here to do a chamfer, and here you go, I got the bumper done. So now I'm doing more of the detail work. I'm gonna work on shaping everything either the way I like it or the way I can, like this kind of shapes when it's really narrow inside. There is just no more room for me to do a chamfer on the software. So there are some operations that will be restricted by the way things have been designed. So one of the things I want to do is work on the window, the windshield, and then the windows that is going to be on the doors left and right. And so for that, you can sketch directly on a 3D shape. So I'll sketch the profile of the window, and then I'll do a projection, 3D projection on the surfaces that I want to cut that shape. So that's the profile that I want. Basically, it's just a curved line. And now I am cutting this from the big cockpit, big bubble in the front. So you see the line now, that's what is going to become the windshield. And now I need to remember what operation to do, which you can see I forgot. You basically need to do a split of the line on one of the surface, and usually you can do it in one go. But this is a mistake that I'm making right now when I'm didn't do the split and I'm doing the offset right away, thicken and offset, and so this is taking the existing lines and offsetting it, you see. So this is not what I want at all. That's not why I designed the shape. So no editing. I'm not cutting my mistakes. You'll see everything wrong that I do. And so I need to go again. The magic of Control Z. What's good, really good with the CAD software is you can always go back in the different operations. You see on the left hand side all the operations are available. You can change the values, you can remove them, some of them you can replace them inside the hierarchy. So now I'm redoing my projection on the 3D parts that I want, and I'm going to use the split tool once I'm done messing about. Alright, so now it's about a splitting operation. When you select the line that has been projected and you split it from one of the surface, so sadly you can't, you can see the windshield is in 1, 2, 3 pieces, so I'm only going to be able to select one of them, and then I have to do the same operation on the other side of the windshield. So it's a little bit time consuming, but it's a really good tool to be able to reshape a 3D form that you've already done. So here you go, I've got my projection now that is cut it from this part of the windshield. So you see it goes from the scoop all the way down to the windshield. So now all I have to do, redo the same series of operation on the other side of the windshield, reproject it, resplit it, and then re-offset it. I'm using a 0.5 mm offset only because I like to have the windshield or the windows line on the mold, but I don't want it to be a crazy line, and I don't like to have just a groove along the line. I like to have a difference of depth between the windshield and the bodywork. I mean, that's just my personal preference. And so now that I have both curves on both sides of the windshield, I can do the proper offset operation. And so you'll see I remove just 0.5 mm of it, and then I'm gonna do a chamfer in order to have a smoother transition between the windshield and the body panels that have now been created. And yeah, I'm gonna do it on the inside, this way it's all the way around. Alright, so here you go, the windshield is being cutted out, so that will be as well a lot easier when applying the Windows mask to have a line on the bodywork in order to know where to place the window mask, especially on a curvy area like that, which can be pretty tedious sometimes to place a window mask properly. And so now I'm going to work on cutting the windows on each side. I'm taking a little look at what the car looks like. Alright, so I took a break, I came back, my belly is full, and I'm now going to work on the finishing touches of the car. You'll see the finishing touches take a pretty long time, and then I have other parts to design that will be separate molds for the wing and the wing mount at the back of the car. So I'm pretty happy with the way the front end came out. The symmetry in the front end is repaired. I want to have some diffusers on both left and right side of the car. So this is what I'm going to do now. I want to have a nice curved diffuser that later on will have carbon-like stickers applied to it. So this is gonna be, I think, a nice feature to have it on the soft plastic instead of just having it as a sticker. I don't believe it is extremely effective, but I think it's a nice touch to have as much 3D shapes as possible and less sticker work. And so choosing the length that I want it to be, and then later on I will be working on how I want the fronts to be curved as well. So here I'm placing the curves, and then once I'm happy with that, it's just a matter of doing a symmetry with my center plane. So I think this is pretty neat. This is going to really add a nice 3D detail. Might be a bit of functionality, a bit of aero work, downforce work from that, but I seriously doubt it. It's such a small shape, but I think it just adds up. You see, once the symmetry is done, I think it just adds to the general outlook. It brings a little bit, it breaks down the very plain sides that those cars have. So I think this is a good thing to do sometime when you have a very flat surface, something that's featureless, just one little feature, one curve, one line, one groove can make a big difference. Okay, now I'm simply doing a small chamfer at the back, just not to have a very straight edge, which helps as well with the webbing that you get in the Vaquform. The Vaquform doesn't appreciate really hard angles, 90 degrees angles, like really sharp angles usually end up with some kind of webbing. So hopefully the little bit of chamfer I add will cancel that. And so now basically the last thing I have to do is going to be cutting the windows on both sides. So I have to shape the windows that would be inside the doors. So I'm going to follow the curve that I created for the windshields. The bottom is going to be pretty much straight. The windows are fairly small, and so this is similar to the shape that I was following on the white LMP I got from Google. And then inside that there will be a part that will later be masked with a black sticker. But this entire part that I projected is going to be offset, same as the windshield, 0.5. So now I'm splitting this from the surface, and now I can do the offset, 0.5 offset, the same I did for the windshield. And so once again, I'm not worried about those very angular corners. This is something I'm going to round later on once I'm happy with the general shape of the window. So I'm going to do that. You can't do a symmetry on Inventor with an offset. You have to redo the same operations on the other side. So I just duplicate my sketch, redo the 3D projection on the other side, redo, split offsets. So this is, I'm not 100% sure why this is the kind of operation that can be duplicated, but that's just the nature of this CAD software. And so I do the same 0.5 offsets, and then I'm going to round some of the corners before I round up the inside, like I did on the windshield, before I make the transition smoother between the bodywork and what is now the recessed window inside. So I'm placing my chamfers on the different corners, and a little bit more probably be preferable. Yeah, there is a seam here. You see where the three planes are meeting. There is a bit of a fluke in the 3D over there that will. There is this little thing sticking out that will just disappear at printing. This is the kind of things I'm not really worried about. The prints that I do as well are not high-res prints. I'm trying to print as quickly as possible because I'm doing most of the finish on the bodywork is going to be sanding and CA glue and filler. So I'm not really worried about little details like that. And plus the printer will have its own fluke while printing. All right, so now I have the little chamfer inside to make the transition smoother between the cockpit body panel and the windows. And now we are moving on to the final touches. Alright, so I've skipped a little bit ahead because the design of the wing isn't the most interesting thing to stare at. So it's basically, I want an aggressive curve. I want something that's gonna add as much downforce as possible. Now I am splitting, I'm making a shape at the center of it in order to have an easy line to cut around once you get the body part. So you know exactly where to cut around the center to fit around snugly around the little central fin, wing, thingy. Still don't know how it's called. So nothing really interesting going on there, just shaping it. And that is going to be a separate mold for the wing. And then there's going to be a separate mold for the wing mounts that are going to be on the left and right sides of the body, attached to the body and to the wing. Probably just double-sided tape, because this is really so tiny. I think it weakened the parts to add screws to this kind of elements on the car. And so here you go. I'm just splitting the parts the same way I splitted the windshield and the windows. I do a little offset, and that's all. Just thicken the part over there. This is going to be a shape that's easy, like a guide for your sizers once you have the body panel in your hand. Super simple. Alright, let's move on to the next part, which is going to be designing the wing mounting. Okay, and now moving on to the last part of the design, which is the wing mount. That is going to be sticked to the side of the body at the rear and sticked to each side of the wing. So this is something, if I were to design the car for another purpose, I would do it on both sides, but all I need is to 3D print a mold, and I can mirror this piece in the 3D printer in the software when I 3D print. So I'm just gonna do one side, and then when I 3D print, I'll just mirror it in the software. And once again, not an interesting part. There is not much design in making that part, just trying to once again break the monotony of this part a little bit. I'm gonna have a little bit of a recessed shape at the bottom of the wing, but other than that, it's a really simple little piece that's going to be probably just with a sticker on it or painted it black at the end. And so that's the last piece of the puzzle. And from then, the next thing that I'm going to have to do with those parts are going to be to empty the inside, like make a shell of the inside of the LMP body. But this is something that I'm not going to make a video on. It is just basically digging what's on the inside or doing a shell operation from the software. Now the shape being that detailed, I don't think I can do a shell, but just cutting rough shapes out of it, which will help saving material when I 3D print. And then it kind of helps as well the suction in the Vaquform to have more of a hollow shell. Just need to make sure that you don't hollow it to the point that the part is weak. But so here you go, I've got my molds, 3 molds completely done now, so it's going to be printing time, and then it's going to be all the bodywork time that I will film as well. So hopefully people who are into CAD design or designing cars or designing molds for the Vaquform, you get a little bit out of that 2-part videos. And yeah, as you can see, the work is never done. You can always come back and look at the shape in a new light. And you see here, I just find out those hard edges have not been touched, so I'm working on them. And so here you have the picture of the final CAD in the intro and the outro of the video. So I'll leave you with that. I hope you get a little bit out of it, and I'll see you soon for the next part, which will be 3D printing the molds and putting the molds together with later on the first Vaquform tests of the mold. Alright, I'll see you next time. Bye bye.